Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans, and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist, and internationally published author, helping take your life and your business, your health, fitness, mindset, and body from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And I'm super excited today because we've got a really awesome guest today. Now, Oscar Chavez, I'll introduce you in a moment, but Oscar is a world-leading CEO advisor. He's the master of influence and has been described as the relationship builder. He's an international speaker. He's a mentor to over 75,000 entrepreneurs from around the world. He's a #1 best-selling author on Amazon. And what I love about what Oscar does, he's able to get a seat directly at the executive table to influence key decision makers. And that is really something else. And he has also got some hidden talents, which we may talk about. He's been on The Voice Australia in front of 4 million people. Oscar, welcome.
I love it. Thank you so much, Rob, for having me. I'm very excited to spend some time with you today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, Oscar, today's topic, we're going to talk about creating exponential confidence. Now, obviously, there's some key things that you've done in your life that are just like, wow, how do you even get to a position where you can even feel confident on stage or to, at a boardroom table to be advising people? And I mean, you've spoken internationally as well. So I wanted to ask you first up, obviously it takes courage, right? In order to be able to do that. But there's probably people listening right now that are not going to be able to relate to the phenomenal success that, that I've just run through there. Can you give us an insight perhaps as to where you started and, how you've gotten to where you are now?
Yeah, I remember when I studied software development, and I could not for the life of me find a role within software development. And I ended up getting a job at an outbound call center. And I had to make calls every day, and I had a long list of people, and I'd go through the list, dial a number, and be ready to get yelled at on the other side as I'm calling Joe's Fish Shop, trying to sell him internet. And he's kind of like, mate, I'm trying to make chips here. Leave me alone. Go away, right? And this was my life every single day for 2 weeks. Didn't make any money at all because it was commission only, and it was really frustrating. I knew someone that said to me, Oscar, I know that you're working at that Telstra outbound call center. Why don't you come work at the Optus inbound call center? I'll take anything, right? I'm not making money. I hate this. This is the worst thing in the world. I'll do anything. So I ended up going for the interview, and it was a group interview of 7 people. And that was the first experience that I got firsthand dynamically that the favorite would win, right? So you have to find a way to be friendly, personable, talk to the people that are making the decisions, and really start to be friendly and befriend these people. Later, I found out that was called building rapport, right? Getting to know someone. And so I started working in that call center, and then the dynamic changed, right? Then people were calling me, and I was saying, hey, do you want these internet and all this kind of stuff? And I found a way to become really efficient at that process. I wrote down everything. We had to use about 9 different systems, and from those, I wrote down every system in order that I needed. So I had many different tabs, and I knew exactly in what order to create that efficiency. I ended up being the highest performer in that entire company, and I did 216%. So as a young kid, I think I was maybe 21 or so. As a young kid going through that process, they paid me $6,000. Which was like my first check. I mean, I'd worked for 2 weeks at the other place, didn't earn anything at all. They paid me $6,000 cash after tax. I went out and bought this beautiful guitar here, which I still have to this very day. And that really started. I got a few wins on the board, Rob, where things weren't going well. Things started to go well, and the thing about success is that it does create momentum. From there, there was part of the induction process at Optus. There was a lady that walked in. Her name's Wen Smallwood, and she was dressed in a power suit. Her speech was immaculate. She was confident. The clothes that she was wearing were fantastic. And she was talking about this, what she does. And she was in B2B sales. She worked in enterprises, helping them build solutions. And I saw Wen, and I just looked at her and I thought, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to feel that confident. I want to wear nice clothes. I want to be so sure of myself that that is the path I want to go on. And surely within 3 years, I got 3 different promotions to get up to that level, being the second youngest account executive in Optus history, because everybody else was about 40 years old, 45, established careers. They were doing this for so long. Here I am, a young 23-year-old bloke doing the same role as these like 45-year-old people.
Yeah.
Why? Because I was hungry. And I think the key thing that I learned from that, Rob, and as I go back over my career, over my life, and all the great things that I've done with the boardroom, et cetera, is that it's about who you know, and it's about building the right connections. It's about building the right relationships. And I think if people take that as a first step of understanding who they need to build relationships with, that can lead to confidence. That of course won't lead. There's so many other things that we can talk about that won't lead to confidence in and of itself. But having the right network, having the right people, and we've all heard your network is your net worth. Just get around great people and your life will just absolutely transform.
Yeah, wow. And so from that position, how did you get to where and what you're doing now?
So when I finally got to where I wanted to be, and I'd set this vision, I didn't know how long the vision would take. It only took less than 3 years. I started getting exposed to some really large scale brands. So I was looking after Red Bull, I was looking after Electrolux, I was looking after Apple, Visa Logistics, like a lot of big names. And one of the things about confidence, and confidence is one of the most important things in the entire universe for people to generate success. But it's about that competence, right? It's about developing that competence. And the journey to competence is a bit of discomfort. So doing something that you're potentially not comfortable at, developing a little bit of competence, and then having the resilience and the determination and the stamina to continue to follow the path, even when the path feels uncomfortable. So from that process, I ended up just trying many different things. I started dabbling in business. I built my first app. It was a competitor to Uber before Uber kind of exploded, and it was serving a real need in the marketplace. And that was my first dabble in entrepreneurship. Now, in a real business, I mean, when I was 17, I ran, an entertainment business. But, I went out and I just got more experience. I just wanted the experience. And then I started that, and then when we met, I was doing the health business as well. I just started acquiring all these various different experiences. But the experience that was really important to me was getting around really sophisticated people. Part of that was getting to the executive table. And what I noticed, what differentiates me from everybody else is that I'm hyper committed to getting to the executive table. So I coach a lot of sales teams, Rob, and I hear all the time, I can't get to the executive, or, I've got nothing to say. So that, there's all these false beliefs that people have that they're scared of being judged. And that stops them from making the right steps that they need to take to get to those executives, because those executives at the end of the day can squash any deal. They can say, I'm not interested in that. Or there could be 1,000 different other priorities that means that your contract doesn't get signed. But I have diligent focus on getting to the executives. I don't even like talking to the people under the executives until I've spoken to the executive, because the executive just opens the door up to the entire business. Now, that's taken me a lifetime of practice and learning what to say and what not to say and what is compelling to people. And I've kind of had to learn to become a bit of a marketer in order to get to these tables. But having the focus there, I mean, that's the first thing, right? Having the focus to get to those tables is really how people can get to those tables and how they can start to develop that competence, which then leads to that confidence. So for me, it was about really just dabbling in different things, Rob, trying different things out, having new ideas and having the determination to follow those things and to see them through, and testing whether they were working in line with my expectation. I ended up shutting my health business down because it wasn't working in line with my expectation. I had a certain expectation that the business was going to deliver. The business did not deliver that. Therefore, I shut down and moved on to something else, which is the most profitable decision I ever made. So I needed to learn when to walk away from something that I could be focused my energies on other areas. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's so much great content in what you just said there. I wanted to pick up on something you said right at the beginning there. about the role that the confidence plays in being a success. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of people, well, firstly, they come unstuck by not defining what success really means to them, what that looks like across any area of their life, never mind altogether, whether you're happy and what success looks like. But tell me a little bit about, from your perspective, how you see that confidence plays a role in success.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a couple of different factors here. So confidence has many different layers to it, right? There's superficial confidence where I can feel confident, but it is a mask that some individuals wear, and I've worn that mask myself.
Kind of fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, right? It's that mask that you wear to protect all of the deep insecurities that we have as individuals. Yep. So early on in my career, I had to do a lot of entertaining, Rob. I had to go to a lot of dinner parties, a lot of parties, right, in order to establish the networks that I needed to establish to become successful. Now, in these events, I would be riddled with social anxiety. I mean, yeah. I remember in one of these events, I had to, I took a CIO, so Chief Information Officer, of a very well-known global reputable company. I mean, this guy was incredibly sophisticated, the total opposite personality to me. I'm kind of a bit more bubbly and speakative. He was more introverted, reserved, very sophisticated individual. So we are from totally different worlds. And I remember the whole night, all I was thinking was, I've got to entertain this guy. I've got to make this guy like me. What if I say stuff that he doesn't enjoy and therefore we can't do business together? I was putting so much pressure on myself. Now, to the outside world, when they saw Oscar, I dressed nice, I was very friendly, bubbly, and I seemed like I had all the energy in the world and that I was a friendly guy and that I exuded this confidence. But what that was a mask to protect myself from all of my insecurities and all of the things that I hated about myself and all the things I didn't like about myself, just constantly just going through my mind all the time, right? Yes. So it's possible to be successful with a mask of confidence. Absolutely, because I was successful by any standards, right? Still at that point in time, top 1% of earners at roughly, 23 to 25 years old. And so, but it was a mask, Rob. And so the only way to get to that, to get several layers deep and get to that real confidence where you're unstoppable, unshakable, and you can achieve your full potential is to go, sit in a dark room and analyze all of your behaviors, analyze your life story, analyze the stories that we tell ourselves about what we want out of life and why, and start to ask ourselves the question why and why. And out of that should birth some sort of emotional revelation that helps us understand why our life is the way that it is, why our desires are the way that they are. And usually it's because some sort of hurt or some insecurity, or my dad said this, or my mom said this, or my cousin was this, or I was adopted, or, there's a million stories that anybody could tell themselves. By the way, I'm not adopted. I'm just saying that. Just examples. Just in case my parents watch this and say, what are you saying, Oscar? But so what we have to do is have the confidence to get into that deep and dark area of ourselves. And through that painful experience, we can then emerge anew without the scars, without the wounds, without the insecurities, without the rubbish that we all have buried deep down in ourselves. And we can face the world with the real confidence that says, hey, everybody in this world has insecurities. Yeah. Everybody in this world is scared of what other people think about them. Everybody in this world has fears that they will not achieve their full potential. Everybody at the end of the day has the same fears. We all have the same human condition. And all I can do in life is try to achieve my potential. All I can do in life is have the courage to say my truth. And all I can do in life is try to get a little bit better every single day. And some days I'm going to suck at it. Some days I won't achieve that potential. Some days I'll actually fall backwards. But it's about the journey, the evolution of getting of achieving your own potential. And that's really how you build the confidence to really achieve your own potential.
Oscar, you've just delivered so much gold content right there. I love the way that you've articulated that. And I think from what I see of you, you've been able to really fast track this in a way that most Most people don't. And I certainly didn't. It's taken me decades to get to where I am now, which is in a confident position. But I mean, I was bullied as a kid. I was um, a really tiny kid. I had huge self-image problems, not for being overweight or anything. I was tiny. I was the smallest kid in the school. So I was an easy target. And, not having friends, being, not great at school, all of my whole world as a child was decimated. So I had no confidence. If I was asked a question or you had to go up and stand in front of the room to talk, it's like, kill me now, please. I want to go to sick bay, whatever, anything to get out of it. But I guess if I fast track to where I am now, if you said to me, Rob, I've got an opportunity to speak to 1 billion people tomorrow at 10 a.m. Are you available? I'd say, let me at it. And you think, how can you go from somewhere where you wish you were dead to, I would love to have that opportunity, and that excites me. And that's come from practice and practice and practice, and going to those dark places that you go to the dark room, uncover all your fears and your limiting beliefs, and come out on top, and then just practice and practice and practice. And some days, like you say, you're going to fall over and you're going to do it wrong. I mean, I'm sure you've failed a heap of times, and just like I have, but you learn from that. You get more confident next time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
I wanted to ask you, because sometimes there can be a fine line with some people we see on social media and stuff, the difference between confidence and arrogance. How do you see that?
Yeah, I actually, when we first started talking, I was like, I've got to talk about this, because confidence can lead to arrogance. And you know what? A little bit of arrogance is okay. And I've dabbled in arrogance and tested the bounds of arrogance, because in my circles, most people that I meet have a level of arrogance.
Yeah, big egos.
Big egos. And so I've tested with arrogance a great deal, and I've had a lot of failures with arrogance. So I ran a workshop the other day with 70 people, and through the entire presentation, I leveraged a lot of empathy, and I was just really being authentic. Through the close process, I leveraged a bit of arrogance, right? Because this is the circle that I'm in. I'm surrounded by it all the time, and I switched a little bit to arrogance. And the workshop did not perform the way that it should have performed, and the way that it's performed in the past, when I've just been empathetic towards people and saying, hey, if here's an offer. If you're interested, this is this is what you can do to take advantage of that offer. Yep. In this workshop with 70 people, I went arrogance. I'm like, I don't even need your money. Here's what it is. You just I'm only taking a couple of people. Don't kind of like very. So for me, arrogance, I've played with it, and I guess my only insight to arrogance is that it is totally an egocentric concept, and what the world needs is definitely less ego, because that the ego just serves to protect ourselves from our insecurities, right? So if confidence leads to arrogance, when we lose empathy, when we stop focusing on the other person, and when we don't picture ourselves in their shoes, and we become self-absorbed and self-nature, that's where it turns to arrogance. And operating from a sense of ego is like a wrecking ball. It is honestly a wrecking ball in our lives. It means that, in personality development, we learn about these things called tidal waves, right? A tidal wave is when you ignore something for a particular time, and it turns into a tidal wave and just kind of takes you out. So the business owner that has a fear of looking at his finances because he's kind of scared of looking at the finance, eventually he ignores those finances for so long that a tidal wave will end up hitting him, right? Yeah. Or the married husband that is so insecure about his own relationship that he tries to over control his wife so that she doesn't go out and do all these things with her girlfriends. And, he's always saying, he's always doubtful of her fidelity, that eventually he'll ignore those behaviors that he has, and he's not looking, and eventually it'll turn into a tidal wave, and there'll be a massive blowout, and it will be catastrophic. So when we operate from a place of being egocentric and operating from our ego, it will always 100% of the time always lead to a tidal wave. And tidal wave, and when I say tidal wave, I mean like just getting completely smashed and knocked out, and your whole identity having to shift because the tidal wave's so big that it will destroy some of the foundational pillars that you've built in your life.
Yeah.
And so if we operate from a place of arrogance and we don't suppress our egos, or not suppress, but deal with our egos, then unfortunately, I think it will just lead to a tidal wave, and life will find a way to just pummel us back into submission. Because life's not easy. Life's not a walk in the park. Life's not all rainbows and butterflies. Life has a way of pushing you back into where you need to be if you leverage too much ego, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think you've articulated that really well. One of the things that I notice as well, and it's harder because I mean you're a bit younger than me, but I look at, so I got 2 teenage girls, 13 and 15, and I look forward, as in look ahead to the challenges that they're going to face just on social media. And I mean, you look at social media now and you see how, I don't know, you don't see the real person necessarily. You're getting an image that they want to portray. And I think where it comes to that confidence and that arrogance and ego and so forth, we've got to be really careful how we manage that in that context. And I got caught in this trap too, for like when I first started on social media and with my business and stuff. I didn't do it for the first few years. Probably didn't exist, actually. It was that long ago. But then over time, I thought, what's Oscar doing? Oh, gee, I better do a post like that. And then, okay. Oh, Jason's doing something over there. Oh, geez, I better do a post, like that. And then Cheryl's doing that. Oh, she's posting a photo with, in a bikini or something. Oh, geez, I don't want to get in get the shirt off. So, okay, I'll do a post on this. And through that, I wasn't really communicating with my audience like a consistent message for me. So I think for me, the authenticity in me is starting to come out over this last 12, 18 months or so. And that is giving me confidence and kind of leaving the ego to one side.
Yeah, I remember reading one of the books that really profoundly transformed me was High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard.
Yep.
And this was at a really pinnacle time in my business career. And I read this book and it goes across 6 different pillars for business owners to really get to the next level, like seeking clarity, generating energy, raising necessity is one of them, increasing productivity, developing influence. And the final one, where I read this and I started breaking down in tears, was demonstrate courage. As I read that paragraph, I actually started crying because it was all about the fact that if you want to live a high performance life and you want to achieve your potential and you want to truly get to know the best, you want to meet the best version of yourself one day, you're going to need a lot of courage to do that. And because when you get to that place where you are truly trying to unfold or manifest your potential, there's going to be a lot of naysayers. There's going to be a lot of people that attack you. There's going to be a lot of people that just misunderstand what you're trying to say and disagree with you for the sake of disagreement. And I started crying because I really, it really challenged me to, I've always been a people pleaser, Rob. I grew up obese. The way that I managed my insecurities was making other people laugh, always the friendly guy, just always about the jokes. And so I had to come to a place where it was kind of like, I have to reconcile that there are going to be people in this world that don't like me. Whereas before, my whole position was like, I want everybody to like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want every single person to like me. And it was a transformative event in my life where I had to come to the realization and the acceptance that in life, I'm going to have some enemies along the way. Maybe that's what's going to have to happen. Now, I'm grateful that I don't have enemies at this point in time. And I really hope that I never do. But actually, maybe I do have 1 or 2 actually. But I have to be okay with the fact that people don't like me. Yeah. And it served me well, Rob. I've had situations in my career, of developing this whole advisory thing where I'll clash heads with other executives in a massive way, because not every executive's gone through the personal development journey that I have.
Yeah.
They think they need, where they know that they need to be respectful and courteous to other people, where one of their philosophies is to appreciate the other person. Some of the executives that I work with, they really have a massive ego, and they think that everybody needs to submit to their will. That as soon as they say something, it's like their way or the highway, or they will completely railroad you. And I've had like corporate bullying situations, like even in my advisory practice, where I'll have one of the other executives or one of the other board members, like literally bully me, right? Like as a full-grown adult, as an advisor in a company, I'll have this person bully me, and we'll end up in an argument, right? A full heated argument, and it will heighten, and it will get worse and worse and worse. And so at that point, I had to accept that, hey, I'm okay to have that person not like me, and I'm okay to challenge in a respectful way, and I'm okay to push back, because that's not the way that you should treat people. And I ended up having to go back to the CEO and say, look, this is how me and my team have been treated. We need to get HR involved. And they did it. They went and got HR involved, and they launched this whole investigation. But at a previous time, I wouldn't have been okay to do that, because I didn't want to rub anybody the wrong way. Yeah, I wanted to be a people pleaser. And so I've had to, come full circle in that, and balance my weaknesses out and go, you know what, if people don't like me, that's not my problem. I've got to do what I got to do in the world. I've got to be authentic. I've got to be real. I've got to be raw. And I've just got to try to put some good in the world. And if that does good for some people, hey, great. That's what I'm trying to do. If not, I'm okay with that as well.
That's a really great example, because I think as we go through life, like the first time that happened, I'm sure it caused you to have sleepless nights, and you beat yourself up and you think, what have I done? What have I said, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes things just don't work out. And what you've demonstrated there is that this is part of you having a hunger to grow yourself every day and to be that better person, and knowing that, yeah, look, I'm okay, but not everybody likes me. That's just the reality. It's unrealistic to think everyone's going to love me and throw rose petals at me when I walk out of the front door every day. And in doing that, going through those tough things, you become stronger, don't you? You become mentally tougher, but you also become more confident in how you step out the front door every day.
Yeah, I truly believe that. And one of the things that I've learned and have taken into my identity, and I learned it from Dr. Jordan Peterson, and this was the reason for the failure of my first marriage. So I've been through a divorce, and it's easy to blame other people when you've gone through a divorce. It's easy to blame the other person, say all the things that they did wrong. I took extreme ownership, and I go, what did I do wrong that led to this? And the one thing that really held me back in my life was not speaking my truth.
Yeah.
That is so important for people that are listening to firstly have a truth, and you can only establish a truth through getting to know yourself and through getting to learn what you're interested in and understanding your own personality type and why you show up in the world the way that you show up. But once you're at that point where you really do start to understand who you are as a human being, then it's important to speak your truth, because when you don't say something that you should say, it impacts your personality.
Yep.
And your personality. So the person, the spiritual aspect of yourself gets pushed down and gets reduced. And some people for years and years and years, they don't speak their truth to their partner. The women out there that are getting beat up in their marriages, they should be able to say to their husband, some brush it under the carpet. And I speak a lot about domestic abuse and human trafficking, but they should be able to go to their husband and say, what you did to me yesterday was unacceptable. And I will in a calm way, right? Not in a non-threatening way, but they should be able to say, what you did to me yesterday was unacceptable. And I'm letting you know that, maybe I forgive you, right? Maybe they forgive the person, but I will not stand for it any longer. You lay hands on me one more time, and that is the end of our marriage. And I want you to know that I will not tolerate being treated that way. Is that okay with you? And getting a yes or no agreement from that person. Because I know women that have been beat up by their husbands for years and years on end, and they don't say anything about it. They don't tell anyone. So when you don't speak your truth, it makes your spirit suffer, and you end up putting yourself in a little box, and the child inside of you it's like you're locking the door behind a child inside of you, and the child's screaming and kicking on the door saying, hey, let me out, let me out, let me out. But you're so scared of it that you've locked the door and you've walked away. So people that are listening, you've got to speak your truth. If you have a truth to say, you got to say it. Otherwise, you're only hurting yourself. It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face.
And I think you don't have to do that in a disrespectful way. Like any bad news needs to be delivered in a good way, but you need to do it in a way that is true to you as well. And I've been one of those people as well, where just didn't have it came from a lack of confidence in being able to say, well, what you said to begin with about, all those limiting beliefs and fears and so forth that you have, I felt that, well, Oscar, if I tell you how I really feel, then you're going to get upset. You might say something. I'm going to feel really bad. Then it's easier if I just don't say anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's not just true in relationships. Well, all relationships, but I mean intimate relationships, but also business relationships as well. But it can be done in a very respectful way. I think when it's not, that's somebody not having the level of personal growth that you and I have had.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta take courage, and it's one of the fundamentals. It's in Wizard of Oz, like we've been talking about courage as human beings since the beginning of documented history. It is all about the courage. The people that show courage are the people that lead. And in life, everybody can become a leader. Not anyone, and no one's born a leader, right? We have to become leaders. And if we are born into that position where by some miraculous chance we get to lead, and we don't go through that personal development journey, then we won't lead for very long. And our life will fall back to where, life's like a rubber band, right? If we keep pushing and stretching in ways that it shouldn't stretch, life will end up snapping back on you. And that is a very uncomfortable position. What we have to do with life is more like is more about the growth. It's building those. It's like digging. So you got to dig gradually, and get rid of the soil and the dirt so that you can dig your hole, rather than the rubber band effect where you're operating out of a place of ego, operating out of a place of trauma, and that's the way you get the rubber band, which will snap back and really hurt if we don't manage these things effectively.
Yeah, brilliant. Hey, I've got one more question for you before I'm going to have some fun with you. Tell me about how you think because I had issues with this, self-image and self-confidence. How are those two linked?
So self-image and self-confidence come directly from keeping your promises to yourself. So if you have a desire inside of you that you want to see come to fruition. So for instance, I have a weight loss goal, or I have a financial goal, or I have a goal to have a certain type of relationship with the people around me. I have an emotional goal that I don't want to feel the way that I've been feeling this way. Then it really comes from having the courage and the resiliency to follow through with your own promises. And that is what leads to confidence. And it happens, life unfolds on a micro scale. It happens, it's a game of inches, this life. So something we do right this second will impact our emotion that we feel tomorrow, perhaps next week, perhaps next month, perhaps in the next 5 years. What we do in the actual moment, the right now, the here-ness of life, is what we need to do and make sure that we're managing the present moment effectively so that we can develop that confidence later on. So for instance, if you're on a weight loss journey, for instance, and you say to yourself, well, look, I'm going to exercise no matter what it is for the next, I have a target of 3 exercise sessions per week, and you hit those exercise sessions, what you're going to have as a result is the weight loss, but you're also going to have the additional confidence that shows that you can keep your own promises. If you're the person that tries to make all these promises to yourself or has all these desires, but you don't follow through, that's where the confidence will start to reduce. And that's where we get to the point where we have no self-confidence. We have a lack of self-image. So if we just, Rob, make promises to ourselves, we keep those promises, then self-image will increase. No matter what you see in the mirror, right? If you don't like what you see in the mirror, by the simple nature of keeping your promises, then that can make a real difference. And I also want to add, this is really important, a revelation I've had in the last few weeks, Rob. I tore 3 discs in my spine, right? 3 of the lower discs. and had one bulging disc, the one above. So I had 4 discs in my spine that were causing me excruciating chronic pain for the last 3 years.
Mm.
In my mind, I knew that I could get better, right? I fully believe it. I listened to all of Dr. Joe Dispenza's stuff. I spent time meditating. I listened to Marissa Peer, who's also been on the cover of Brains magazine and is world renowned as well. Through self-therapy and all these sorts of things. Now, I was doing all of this stuff. In order to try to change my belief system about my back. I went to physio. I finally bit the bullet and started, because I was like, I got business, I got this, I got that, I got interviews, I got like so much stuff going on that I ended up putting my health on the back burner. I put business and money above my own health. And I went to the physio. I remember just explaining what had happened in my back, and I was pretty much crying. Like I was seriously, like this only happened 4 weeks ago. I was basically just almost crying, telling him about all my frustrations and all my pains, and that most of my days are spent in pain and all this kind of stuff. And the reason that happened was because one of the physios I went to in the past didn't give me hope that my back could get better. Now, this physio was saying, Oscar, the back's so resilient, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Like you're going to be fine. You're going to live a pain-free life as long as you do the exercise, as long as you do the work. And that moment in my life, everything shifted. Like my whole outlook. I was starting to imagine a life where I couldn't walk anymore. I was starting to imagine a life where I would just wake up frustrated, in pain all day. Like my future really started to look dark in terms of what I was able to achieve from a health perspective. And I didn't realize how much this was weighing on my heart and on my life, and my entire outlook on life became grim. Until this person came along and he said, no, you've got hope. You can get better. Everything can get, in the last 4 weeks, my life has been like, I've been on top of the world. I've been excited. I've been, committed to my, and I was even stretching every day before these sessions, but I've been developing that process of developing strength in my back. And it totally just changed the whole outlook of my life. Yeah. And so people need to realize that if they're in a dark place, or maybe they're not as hopeful as they should be, get around people that can give you great advice, that can help you look forward, that can help you dream big, that can help you realize that there is unlimited potential in the world. As long as you're around the people that are going to support that vision, then people really can see their vision come to life. And for me, that was one of the things that just like blew me out of the water, to come from a place of realizing, like, I'm a high performance guy, Rob. Like, I don't let anything hold me down. I get on with the job. I make stuff happen. But this one small aspect, and it's not a small aspect, it's a massive aspect of my life, was really weighing me down. And I didn't even know about it. It was an unconscious thing that was going on. And I tell you, Rob, my life quality in the last 4 weeks has improved by like 1,000%, just by having someone that could help me understand a new way.
That's crazy, isn't it? I'm so pleased to hear that, because, I see people with back pain and it's debilitating. So well done for, working your way to getting on top of it. Picking up on your point there about, surrounding yourself with the right people. Sometimes I've had to make a couple of really tough decisions in my life where I've had to eliminate people from my life because they have not wanted to get on with my journey, and in maybe purposefully or not purposefully, have been working against what I've been trying to achieve. And it doesn't come to you just like that. Oh, I need to change that, but it wears you down. And then you realize, actually, if I want to go where I want to go, unfortunately, I can't have this anchor with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
we know through epigenetics, the research in epigenetics shows that the environment can make a gene express itself in a different way depending on where that gene is placed. In the olden days, we used to think that a gene would express itself based on the DNA that it had hard-coded within it. Now we understand that a gene can be expressed differently based on the environment that it's in. And so that is a huge call to audit the environment that we're in terms of who we surround ourselves with, where we are on any given basis, because anyone that we spend time with, we become more like. If we spend enough time with them, we become more like them. And so we need to audit our circle, audit our friends, and say, okay, these are the people I'm spending time with. Do I want to be more like these people or less like these people? And if we want to be less like those people, then unfortunately, sometimes we have to cut people out of our lives, or find a way to spend less time with those people so
Yeah.
that we can open up the opportunity to spend time with the people that we really want to be like. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, brilliant. Hey, in closing, I don't think that we could end this without asking you about the voice. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions about that?
Yeah, go for it.
So obviously, I listened to you on YouTube yesterday. It's like, oh man, you've got a heck of a voice. Tell us about that side of you and what drove you to go to The Voice.
Yeah, so I've always been a heavy sleeper since I was a young kid. And my mom used to come into the room and try to wake me up for school, and I'd be like, "Yeah, my mom would leave, and I'd just go back to sleep, and she'd come back in and go, "Hey, get up for school." And I'd be, "Yeah, I'm getting up," and I'd go back to sleep.
It sounds
The only
similar
thing
to my girls.
The only thing that would get me out of bed is when my mum would put Michael Jackson on. She'd get the CD and put Michael Jackson on, and I'd spring out of bed. I'd start, just dancing. And since a young age, I really just felt music, and I felt it just emanate through my life. Right, I love music,
Yeah.
and so and seeing Michael Jackson be adored by millions of people. I mean, who wouldn't want to, do? I mean, obviously everybody has different personality types, but as an extroverted kid, that's just all I want. I wanted to be on stage.
Yeah.
I wanted people to adore me, and that's just who I wanted to be, right? Again, to battle all the insecurities that I was facing. So I went through this journey, and ever since I've been on Australian Idol as well. I'd go through Australian Idol, I'd go through whatever, and I just completely stopped everything because I just was like, you know what, these shows, good for nothing. And then The Voice came along, different culture, different attitude, respected their talent. They even have a whole different language system, which I could talk about for hours about language, but they had a different language system about how to treat their people. And so I thought, I'm going to go on The Voice. And I was lucky there was 100,000 applications, and there was only 100 people that went on to actually, there's a process to go through before you even get on TV, right? Producer interviews, rehearsal sessions with the band. Like there's all these things that need to happen before you can actually get on TV. Finally went on TV, and I'm like, my gosh, this is my dream coming true. I walk on stage, and I'd sang to crowds of thousands before, Rob. So it was for me, it was a walk in the park. There was probably maybe 300 people in the audience. It wasn't that big in terms of the scale that I'd done before. So for me, it should have been just a walk in the park. So I'm standing on stage. I can barely see anything in the audience. The lights were so bright, and I had a strategy. I had a very clear strategy. My strategy was, it's just another day. It's a small audience. I'm gonna engage the crowd, and I'm gonna do my song. I'm gonna deliver, and then I'm gonna exit left, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was my strategy, right? No fear, no insecurity, no nothing. I went in. Probably, about 30 seconds into the song, my strategy was I felt no nerves, no anxiety, no stress. I was just delivering my song.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, okay, I've engaged with the left side of the crowd. I'm now going to engage with the right side of the crowd. So as I pan across the stage, my eyes hit the back of the chairs, and it's like Delta, Seal, Joel Madden, and Ricky Martin, I think it was at that time. So my eyes pan across, and I go to the right side of the stage. All I could think at that point was like, oh my God, I am screwed. I'm on TV. There's millions of people watching me. What if I don't get a chair turn? And just for the rest of the song, I was just like, I had just heightened anxiety. And I ended up getting through, there's a point in the song where I thought, you know what, this is my moment. This is the moment the judges are going to turn their chair. It was a high note. And I thought, well, this is the point. I'm going to either get the chair turn at this point, because that's my time to shine, or I'm out. So I get to that point in the song, I deliver it, and I deliver it flawlessly. No chairs turn. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like halfway through the song. I'm like, my life is over now. Everybody knows I'm a failure. Everybody knows I'm good for nothing, sort of thing. And I ended up just trying to get through, tick the box and get through the rest of the song. And it came to the last note of the song, last guitar note has strummed. And I'm like, okay, I got to fight for this. I got to hold on to this note for as long as I can. The last note had been played. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the 4 count, the song's done, right? I mean, there's four bars in a piece. And the fourth count had happened, and I'm like, oh my God, it's over. And then next, after the fourth count, Delta smashed the button. She turns around, I throw my hands in the air, going, oh my God, I can't believe this. And it was honestly one of the most exciting times in my life. And it really, that was for me branding before I knew what branding was about. Being on TV and being a publicly recognizable figure, going into, I'd go to lunches with executives and they'd be like, oh, I recognize you. My family watches The Voice, helped me build that instant rapport. And honestly, The Voice took my life to the next level.
Yeah, wow. I can't imagine the pressure you would have been feeling, but I guess if you were in front of 4 million people, that would be different. But knowing that they're all watching, it's just, well, that's intense too. If you think, man, if no one turns around, then I'm going to be forever remembered for this moment. Yeah. So how far did you go along?
So I got through the blinds, and I got kicked out in the battle rounds, which is the round after.
Right. Okay. And what was like going into it? What was your goal in terms of? So I don't know. Does the at the end of The Voice, does that end into a record deal? Is that what?
Yeah, record deal. The goal for me was to become a millionaire and become famous. If I'm really honest with that. Yeah. That was the goal. But it did so much more for me than any of those things. And now I'm to the point in my life where I realize that I don't want or need the fame. I wanted that stuff because I had a deep insecurity. I don't have a deep insecurity. I know who I am. I know my place in the world. I love my family. I want to spend time with them, and anything that takes me away from that, not super interested in. So, it's just that whole personal development cycle.
Yeah. Look, so powerful. Everything that you've said today, I mean, it resonates with me so much. And I know that there'll be people listening to this that get it all, and some people that don't get it all. And all I could say is you just got to keep working on yourself until define what success looks like for you, and just keep working until you get there, and be content when you get there, but keep working on yourself still.
Absolutely.
Because the journey never stops. Hey, it's been so great to speak with you today, Oscar. I did want to ask you your book. Do you want to give your book a bit of a plug and how people can get in touch with you?
So there's a couple of ways people can connect. On my website, oscar-chavez.com. There is a book called Billionaire Secrets. And that's through work of working with multi-billion-dollar companies at an executive level, and also being coached by a few different billionaires. The one, that's a lot of high-level advice. If people want some really tangible advice they can implement, like today, I have a workshop called the $3 Million LinkedIn Playbook, and it breaks down the strategy we use to make $3 million on LinkedIn in 1 month with zero ad spend. And they can get that at 8figures.growthlymarketing.com. That's 8figures.growthlymarketing.com. It's a free 1-hour workshop. I normally do that workshop live and charge about $500 for it. But I condense it down to a 1-hour version that people can consume, and they can get it for free by going to that link.
Fantastic. Is that the number 8 or the word 8?
The number 8.
Number 8. All right, brilliant. Oscar, thanks so much for today. You've delivered so much great content here. I know that our audience is going to get a lot out of it. I'm intrigued with your $6,000 guitar. I didn't know you could get a guitar for $6,000. But you've just done so well in how you've, come from your beginning to where you are now. And I just enjoy watching, your growth and, watching what you're doing on social media and everything. It's really, really powerful, and the people that you're connecting with as well. So well done. And thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Rob. I really enjoyed that. Really appreciate your time too.
Thank you.